Recently, I came across a video on how to speak with authority, and I found it really insightful. So I very much like to share with you what I learned from it. So firstly is speak to lead. So stop speaking to be liked and instead speak to lead. So for example, if you're in town with your friends and you're all not sure about which restaurant to go to, like whether it's like McDonald's or to go to get some pizza, then maybe you could just instead of being unsure, you could just say, let's go to get pizza. It's really great, which shows that you're leading and making an actual decisive decision, and the other people will probably follow you as well. So to be successful, you could have a mindset shift. So the mindset of most successful people are that they're thinking, I am a leader, even if they are not one yet, because if you keep on saying that, eventually it will send a signal to your brain that you're actually a leader, and you'll start to act like it and have more confidence and speak in a way that a leader would as well. And versus the mindset of someone who isn't as successful, and they might think, oh, this is someone else's environment, so I have to be less small or certain than them, because then I won't be able to make a good impression. So when you're less certain in communication, it shows, and it's obvious that you're not as confident. So how to be more certain is, so the first 2 points are pretty similar. The first one is actually mean what you say. So make sure you believe in what you're saying, so you're able to say it with complete confidence, with no hesitation, and only say the things that you're certain of. So all of CEOs and leaders, they all have a point of view, and they can see from their experiences in life, and they see that they themselves have something to offer, and they can use their experiences to frame their point of view, which can make them very confident. And remember that your point of view, or whatever you're thinking, and is very important, and that you're there in the room with everyone else for a reason, and you deserve to be there just as much as they do. And thirdly is, don't qualify your statements using I think or I feel, which many people often do, because it actually reduces credibility and it seems uncertain. So if you're in a group project at school, maybe instead of saying I think we should put all of this on a PowerPoint, you could say the best path forward is by putting all of this on a PowerPoint, which makes it automatically seem more credible, because using I think feels like it's coming from your opinion only, and you have no nothing to prove it as well, you know. And it also makes you seem unsure, because it's what you think or feel. Secondly is no emotion allowed. So emotions are often make you very reactive and seem unsure. So usually people with high emotion, others think they will have low intelligence, because they will use their emotion more than they use their logic, which can cloud their decision-making ability. And the only way to fully trust your decision-making ability and to have internal confidence that it's good is if it's swayed by logic and not by emotion, and you have actual facts and data to back it up with. And this can help you see through a new lens. And actually being emotional, instead of creating confidence, it actually erodes the confidence that other people have in you, because they can see that you're unsure and emotional, and then they'll also be unsure on whether or not to trust you. And without other people as a leader, you can't be successful. And because other people have to be able to trust you for you to be able to lead them. And never let your emotions override your message, because it can impact the amount of value you pass on to other people. So an example is so you have to be more like grass, because grass is very flexible, and if something is dropped on them, anything a brick, for example, is dropped on the grass, then if you remove the brick, the grass is flexible, it's just going to come back up again. However, if you have it just falls through the grass, and instead if you have toothpicks, for example, if the brick falls on them, they will crack and they won't be able to repair themselves. So yeah, when you have like, if there's an argument or people are getting like angry or something, just let it fall through you and don't like argue back, and yeah, make sure that there's no emotion involved. Thirdly is to have authority. So once you have authority, people will stop interrupting you and listen. And like great like speakers don't speak more, but they have more weight in what they say and more value in them. So like they treat like every conversation as an opportunity to make impact, which will cause them to show up differently. As everything they do, like every conversation they show up to, it has to matter, because a leader is often very busy. They have lots of things on their to-do list and lots of areas they need to manage and oversee. But yeah, if you're in a room in a conversation, you're there for a reason. So you should have a clear purpose and be able to prioritize your time. So if you have nothing to contribute, then just leave the room immediately and avoid wasting your time, and focus attention on stuff that could actually like bring more value to you. And yeah, so enter every conversation with a clear target and like point of view and what you're going to say, so you're able to like build your authority and drive the conversation forwards. And yeah, basically steer the discussion confidently and with thoughtful questions rather than answers. And like an example of the authority is like in my school we have like 2 different French teachers. So the first one I would just call like teacher A, and she like in her class everyone talks to each other and no one actually listens to what she says, because like she doesn't really have any power or control over the class. Like one time someone even threw a chair across the room, and like every time she speaks it is kind of quiet and like no one ever listens, and everyone just does what they want. However, in like teacher B's class, they have he's like really strict, and he has loads of authority over the class, and no one ever like talks to each other, and it's like extremely quiet, and no one talks when he's talking, because he has like loads of power and control of the class, and everyone like really respects him as well. So he has like, yeah, lots of authority, and it's not really like he doesn't like teach different stuff to French teacher like A. They all teach the same like curriculum, but it's just that the way he speaks has more authority and certainty in it, so more people like actually listen, and he's not afraid to like punish people as well. So fourth is become a question master. So you don't need all of the answers, because like you'll never know everything obviously. So just be able to ask the right questions, and yeah, because leaders usually solve like complicated problems, and there might be lots of like constraint, confusion, or no clear path forward. So, but the leader should be like an effective communicator. Like think what information like are we missing that is the most important, and what is the best decision or way to like go forward from this, and they need to be able to like prioritize the key information and be able to like, yeah, sort things out in order. And it's kind of like if you have like a necklace and like it's tangled up, it's kind of like trying to untangle the necklace. At first when you look at the knot, it might seem like it's like that forever and there's no way to untangle it. But if you try guide it like little by little and like step by step, eventually it's going to become untangled. And yeah, that's just like the problems that you might face. And to become an effective communicator, like when I was young and like even now, but like since I was young, whenever you're at like a party or like at a social gathering with other people, my dad would always tell me to go up to someone and ask 3 questions to them. And obviously like as when I was really young, I wasn't able to ask very like really good or insightful questions, but that like really helped me, because like it helped me overcome my fear of like talking to like adults and asking them questions. And it, since there's only 3 questions and I had to like maintain their like attention for the whole thing, I also like learned how to like maintain people's attentions and engage them, and also how to ask thoughtful questions. So if I asked someone why they were there and like they were saying like, oh, my son had like a football like tournament or something, and then I could say, I could build on that. I could ask him something about football as well, because he mentioned that his son was there. I could say, oh, when did he start playing football, which would continue the conversation and keep it interesting. And so fifthly is stop oversharing. So when you know what you're going to say it and make it like direct and firm, and yeah, so that it can have a lot of impact. And don't like keep on reassuring other people or repeating yourself. And yeah, because if you keep on repeating yourself, it gives an indicator of not being confident, and it can add awkwardness, and that you're like seeking validation from other people, which can weaken your authority, which makes it more likely for other people to question your decision and like argue against it. So an example of this is like going back to my French teachers. Like teacher A, she would like, they both have this rule that if you're like late 3 times, you'll get a detention. But like teacher A, every single time someone was late, they'd always make some excuse, and she'd have to listen to it. And like this, by listening to the excuses of others, it like weakened her authority, because once she let one student like not get a detention, everyone else would also complain about how unfair it was, and then eventually the rule was just broken. But the other like French teacher B, whenever someone was like late 3 times, he'd immediately give them attention, and he'd say it directly and firmly so that people couldn't argue against it, and that he'd maintain his authority. So even like now we still have that rule, and people even turn up early as well. So in conclusion, I think the main points and things to learn are that like, firstly, to have like a successful mindset, you have to think, I am a leader, even if you're not one yet, because it can actually signal to your brain that you are a leader, and you'll start acting like it too, because it will also impact your actions. And secondly, to just like be able to think like without like too much emotion like involved, because like, for example, like once in school we have this like debate club thing, and so we had to argue about like whether self-driving cars are good and if we should implement them more in like the public. And one side, when the other side like disagreed with them, they found it hard to accept their point, and they got very emotional when like the other group countered their previous point, and they started like arguing back with only like half-formed points and using more emotions than actual logic to like, and they didn't really like realize that none of their points really like made sense. And yeah, and finally, just like I guess you don't need like all of the answers, and just be able to like ask the right questions, and be able to have like be able to be an effective communicator and prioritize the key information. And I hope you learned something. That's all. Bye bye.